and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna start on a new sewing project, but this time instead of making something from scratch as my previous project showed, I'm gonna be doing a thrift flip. For this thrift flip I'm not actually going to a thrift store to buy anything because I already have a couple of items in my closet that require some remaking. So we're gonna just go ahead and use those. So first of all, I have this red dress. I bought this dress quite a couple years ago, mostly for some ballroom dance competitions, and I did wear it there and I liked it, but at this point it just doesn't really fit my style anymore. It's kind of too small, and for those competitions I have a bunch of other clothes that I like wearing better, so I don't actually ever wear it anymore. Now with this dress, I think I want to make a wrap shirt. So I'm gonna first of all cut off the skirt, and then I want to use that fabric to put some butterfly sleeves on it. Now this dress did come with this like strappy belt, which is very convenient because if I need it I can use it for the actual part that wraps around you for the wrap shirt. Next, I have this black shirt. I bought this shirt a couple years ago at a thrift store and I always had the plan to change it into something better. When I bought it at the time it was already a bit too big for me, and it still is, and I also think the length of it is a bit awkward in my opinion. So I want to change all of that. I need to make the fit a bit better just so it fits well, and I want to turn it into more of a cropped shirt. What I do like about it is these little lace details in the fabric, and I also like the buttons in the front of it, so I want to keep those. Now if I'm gonna turn it into a cropped shirt, of course I'm gonna have to cut off the nice lace fabric, so I want to maybe cut open the sleeves to incorporate the fabric in there and make it into more of a bell sleeve. And maybe I'll figure out a different place to incorporate them as well. Lastly, I have this blue dress. I bought this new also a couple years ago, and in hindsight I really shouldn't have. When I was trying it on in the fitting room, I like the dress and I like the color and I do actually like the design, but it just doesn't fit right. Mostly at the top, to be honest. I just don't have enough boobs to fill up this dress. So it just stands open a lot and that results in just kind of an awkward fit. So I decided that I want to take it apart. I want to make it into a two-piece where we have a separate skirt and shirt that goes with it. And in that way I can alter the shirt so that it does actually fit right, but I can keep most of the design of the dress, which I do actually like. It also has another great thing going for it, which is that it already has pockets, so that is great. And they're actually decently sized as well. Okay, let's get started with the red dress. First things first, let's cut off the skirt. Once I did that, I tried on the shirt for a bit and it did end up being a little bit shorter than I thought it would be. But luckily the skirt had this nice ruffle on it that I decided to cut off to sew it on the bottom of the shirt. Now that it's cut off, time to sew it on. Next, it's time to get started on the sleeves. I wanted to make butterfly sleeves, and the pattern I need for that is like a circle with a circle cut out of it. Almost like a circle skirt, except the opening for your arm is not exactly cut out of the middle of the circle, but more towards the edge. Now once I had the correct measurements for this, I tried cutting it out of the skirt. However, this is where I ran into a bit of an issue. It turns out the shirt existed out of 3 separate panels as opposed to one large panel of fabric. Because of this, I didn't end up having enough space to cut out the 2 circles fully in one piece, so I ended up cutting 4 half circles instead. Now this is not ideal, but it's gonna have to do. To cut the armhole out of the sleeve, I used the appropriate measurement to cut out a smaller circle out of one of the half circles.
Once that was cut out, it was time to attach the two halves to each other and hem the edge of the sleeve. Finally, both the sleeves were attached to the shirt. And that is the first new clothing item done. On to the next one, the black shirt. For this one, I once again started with cutting off the bottom half because I want this shirt to be a lot shorter. Now, I thought the next thing I needed to do was adjust the fit of this, but once I put it back on and now that it's cut shorter, it actually fits a lot better, so I decided to leave it as is. Instead, I cleaned up the lower hem by cutting some extra pieces off and sewing the lining to the main fabric. Then it was time to cut out these lace triangles. The bottom part of this shirt contained like 8 of these triangles, so that meant I had enough to put 4 in each sleeve. I then measured the length of the side of the triangles and cut the same amount of length into the sleeves, after which I pinned the triangles in place and sewed them. And this is the finished shirt. Look at those dramatic sleeves, it's amazing. I can't wait to try it on. Last but not least, it was time to transform the blue dress. Now, for this one as well, I first needed to detach the bottom from the top part. However, because I want to use both parts and I want to save as much of the fabric as possible, I decided to unpick the stitches manually instead of just cutting it off. It took a while and it's definitely not my favorite job in the world, especially because there were like 4 different seams along this waist, but in the end I think it was the right call. For the skirt, the rest of the process was relatively simple. I just used this elastic that I bought a couple weeks ago and cut out my waist length. After that, I just sewed the elastic to the bottom part of the skirt. This gathered it a little, but in the same way the original dress was formed, because there was already a thin piece of elastic in here at the start. Then for this shirt, I actually used the fabric belt that came with the dress when I first bought it, and I sewed it along the bottom of the shirt. It was a bit too long, so I cut it off at the part that will be tucked inside the shirt, so you won't see the finish that is a little less clean than the other one. On both sides of the shirt, I left a little piece extra to attach a button and a buttonhole. Then I tried the shirt on and marked where the 2 pieces overlapped. In each of these pieces, I made the buttonhole. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with buttonholes, and to be honest, I try to avoid buttons as much as possible, because even though I don't like zippers, buttons are worse. The buttonholes are so finicky. I know you can do it by hand, but I always feel like that would take forever. Now, sewing on the actual button isn't that bad, it's just mostly the hole. So also in this case it was a little finicky, but in the end it turned out okay. And I might actually do more buttons now, but I'm not sure yet. Although I am considering making a shirt with a lot of buttons on my next project, so I might regret that at that point. Now that the buttonholes are in, all I had to do was measure out where I wanted to have the buttons. I put a smaller button on the inside of the shirt, and I put a larger black button on the outside, because I think it matches nicely with the black elastic of the skirt. And with those on, the shirt is finished. Time to put everything on and look at the final results.
And that's it for these couple of projects. I actually am really happy with how it all turned out. There are a few kinks. For example, the red t-shirt, the one sleeve keeps falling off, which can be a little annoying, but I can see if I can fix that later. all in all, I really do like the shirt. I think I'll wear it a lot more than I would wear the dress. Then this black shirt I think is my favorite of the three, or four I guess. I really like the dramatic sleeves. I mean, they go on forever. I love it. It turned out a little bit on the short side, but if I'm not in the mood for that, I can always just put a halter top underneath. So that helps with that. And I have halter tops in like a bunch of different colors, like a red one, a black one, white, green. So that is a good solution for that. Then for the blue shirt and the blue skirt, the skirt is great. And I think I can wear it on its own perfectly fine as well, which is good, just with a black t-shirt or anything else that matches, or even this shirt. And for the blue shirt, it still opens up quite low, so I do feel more comfortable wearing a halter top underneath that. But other than that, it's a good shirt, and I can also wear that one separately as well, which makes me able to get a lot more use out of both items of clothing, which is great. Now, I also really enjoyed the process of making something from something else. It requires you to think a bit more creatively because you only have a limited supply of fabric and you have like a basis to start with, so you can't just start from scratch, which I usually find easier. So I really enjoyed that for a change. I hope you did too. Thanks for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time with a new project. Have a very nice day. Bye!